Over the last 24 hours, altcoins have been getting wrecked once again. And it's been a consistent theme over the last 18 months throughout the bear market and the transitional phase for Bitcoin going from a bear to a bull market. How long is this reckoning of altcoins going to continue? And should we be buying altcoins on the dips? I hear the bag holders at the other end saying, well, my altcoin didn't go down. My altcoin is going to be the one that makes it. Maybe it is, but there is 26,000 altcoins in the space now. And if we're going to try and pick that one, we're going to have to be extremely good at knowing which altcoins to get. So let's have a look at what time frame we can expect for the next altcoin seasons. I'm not going to get too far ahead of ourselves because there's still probably a lot of blood to come for altcoins. Not just my opinion, but the facts in the charts. And that's what we focus on here, as this is your home of macro cycle analysis across Bitcoin, cryptos, real estate, and the stock markets. It's your only place where we study the past to forecast the future. And of course, we also do a ton of trading, just like our members as well, with their cryptocurrency gains just over the last 48 hours. So well done to you guys, hitting 110%, shorting and longing the market there. 29%, 29%, 56, 127, 40, and a beautiful 95. If you guys want to get involved, link is in the top of the video description. Trade and invest in Bitcoin, crypto, and real estate with our TIA premium membership. Link at the top of the video description there. All right, so let me back up what I'm talking about here. We have seen altcoins continue to bleed out, not against their USD value all the time, but almost always against their Bitcoin value. And the problem here is that many don't see this. And then the next cycle begins, and because these altcoins are so weak, technically speaking, from their chart perspective, not necessarily their fundamentals, which we're not as concerned with, but their charts, then they just don't pump as hard in the next cycle. So all of that wasted money, all of your hard-earned money is going into these BS projects with big hopes and dreams that bring you together with some sort of community because they get a hold of people's emotions. If you think that's not you, let's have a look in the mirror. I definitely was there. I was there in 2017. I was there in 2018. And thankfully in 2019, I kicked myself into gear and said, I am dumping these ridiculous altcoins. Altcoins that you've probably never heard of now because they never make it to the next cycle. And this time around, there's 10x more than there were in the second previous cycle, the 2017 cycle. We only had 2,000 to 3,000 altcoins there. Maybe it got up to 5,000. But now the game is 10x harder. And in the next cycle, it's probably going to be even harder again. Maybe we're going to go to 100,000 different cryptos at that next cycle. So this is why it is so critical to not waste money on stupid projects. And it's not me trying to offend you. It's the BS hopes and dreams that these CEOs and founders give us, that their project is going to be the next big thing and live up to some stupid expectation that they never do. Because at the end of the day, the raw stats and the data is that 99% of these projects die. There is no way all of them can survive. And if you have some gift that can pick the one out of the 26,000, here's a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section down below. So that's my rant at the beginning here, just looking at why it's so important not to be wasting money at the beginning of the bull market for Bitcoin. The bull market began in November of 2022. That was the cycle low, and the market is up from there. Not my opinion, just what the charts are telling us. And as you can see here from altcoins, they are basically overall all bleeding out more than Bitcoin. So they're basically losing more value. And I hear the other end again, yeah, but when they go up more than Bitcoin. Yeah, but they might not go up to the same level that they were when they started bleeding out. And you can technically see this. You can get the facts from the charts looking at the altcoin against their Bitcoin pair. It's essentially like trading currencies. You might be trading our little Aussie dollar against the US dollar, or euro against the US, or Japanese yen against the euro, whatever it might be. You need to be picking the strongest ones here and staying with the strongest ones throughout the next cycle. So looking at this, we've had a pretty decent bleed out over the last 7 days as well. And if we change the filter here to Bitcoin, then you can really start to see which cryptos are going to keep bleeding out as well, like the weaker ones here. If they have a higher percentage loss than Bitcoin, then they're obviously weaker. And there are the odd ones which don't have this, and they might be a good place to start. But I want to start with looking at what Bitcoin might do next so that we can get an idea of, well, are we going to see the market continue to collapse for the altcoins? And so this has been a big one that's come up recently. Everyone is now waiting for the call. When is Bitcoin going to pull back? They want a pullback, and we covered this in a recent couple of videos, particularly I think yesterday's video and the day before that. So Bitcoin has been up for 1 week, and now people are wanting a pullback because they didn't buy on the last dip. If you didn't buy on the last dip, typically those people aren't going to buy on the next dip because they missed 19.5K, they missed the bottom as well, and they missed all the other dips prior to the 15.5K low. But looking at the pure data, we've only been up for 1 week. Every previous move to the upside from a low point has been more than 1 week, even in the bear market. There was a 4-week move to the upside. There was a 9-week move to the upside. The reason I've got these here is that you see the breakdown underneath the low, right? So we had a breakdown underneath the low, and then I'm measuring that move there. 3 weeks up, and then we had a breakdown again. 9 weeks up, then we had a breakdown again, almost to the exact point there, but I thought it was important just to measure this 3 weeks here as well, the breakdown, 12 weeks, etc. So it's unlikely that we'll get anything significant somewhere under $28,000 or $27,000. That's what a lot of people are waiting for, because anything less than that is really 4 or 5%. We're not in the game for 4 or 5% to save 4 or 5%. I know most of us are here to make at least 5, 10x. So just looking at the raw numbers, probably got a little bit more upside. What does the upside mean? Well, probably going to see further downside for altcoins, especially against their Bitcoin value. They might get a downside against their US dollar, but probably not, because Bitcoin will be going up, but they'll definitely see some downside against their BTC value. So this one is just looking at the mindset around these low points. So we know that the move to the upside, looking at the data, is probably going to be more than just this 1 week. And right now, it's been such a shock. The market is trying to figure out, all right, are we ready at this point to start pushing again, or are we about to hold out here? And so with each of these lows, the same mindset comes up. It'll go lower, it'll go lower. I think it's important to maybe employ that style of thinking to altcoins, which we'll see on the charts, continue to go lower. So think about the altcoins like this. It'll go lower, it'll go lower. Don't think about it for BTC at this point, because Bitcoin is going higher and higher. That is just pure raw data, not emotional blah blah on the channel. So this brings us to the Bitcoin dominance. Sorry, I didn't have anything else to fill in the blah blah point. Okay, so just looking at the dominance, I've gone through and broken the dominance down to each of the different stages from the previous cycles, labeling them to give us an idea of maybe how long this is going to take and what we could expect to see. It's not all bad news. Eventually this comes to an end. Bitcoin loses its dominance, money flows out of Bitcoin back into altcoins, and everyone is excited again with some sort of altcoin season or 10x or whatever. You get the point. But Bitcoin always brings back dominance through bear markets. So there's the 2018 bear market. Bitcoin was accumulating. It dropped off a little bit, but it didn't break down from that point. Then we had the Bitcoin accumulation breakout and distribution. So micro, alt, pumps. So we had the Bitcoin move here. That's into September, where the peak was around June. So we had that big move up in Bitcoin from around 3 or 4K to 14K, took away a lot of dominance, and it kept going into September because there was a lot of fluctuations with the price from 14K down to about 9K. So it continued to take dominance at that point, and then started to lose some dominance over the fourth quarter of the year. So fourth quarter of 2019. Think of the pattern now. Maybe we have another couple of quarters to go until we can start to really see some good pushes into altcoins. So there's the first clue there. Maybe we're looking somewhere towards Q4 of 2023. That was 4 years ago. Let's see if these 4-year cycles repeat. We had the COVID low, just wanted to put that in. Didn't really make too much of a difference here, but Bitcoin took back a fair amount of dominance through that period from February, so Q1 of 2020, into Q2. So a good part of about 3 or 4 months. Then DeFi summer happened, lost a lot of dominance there. That was your mid-year of 2020. So 2024 could be shaping up for another good year. Maybe we get some sort of narrative pump in the middle of the year. After that point, Bitcoin dominance took it back again. So we got the dominance going back into BTC. The DeFi summer was over. And this was basically that first really big leg that Bitcoin took from about 9 or 10K all the way up to 20 to 23-ish or $24,000. Bitcoin continued up, as we all know, up until April and May of 2021. But by the last week of the year of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021 really saw the altcoins take off. And then they basically took all of the gains there along with Ethereum all the way down into May. So that was a solid 5-month period of altcoins. So far we have a possibility of end of 2023, because that was 4 years ago here. You might be saying, well, 4 years, who cares? It's not going to happen exactly the same. I get it, but these are just some dates and some timelines to have a look at, to keep in mind, because it might not be as far away as many are expecting, at least for some of those intermediate pumps. I doubt we're going to see this sort of massive altcoin season at least for another 12 months. As you can see, that's the end of the beginning of 2021, so maybe it's the beginning of 2025 or end of 2024. But in the meantime, there are definitely big tradable ranges where Bitcoin loses some dominance, and that sort of pumps over into some other narratives that are going on in that period. Fast forward to the last cycle. So we had the major altcoin season 2021, the swift bear market, and then this basically just churned the dominance over and over and over again because it included stablecoins. The ETH narrative was pretty big. Then we got the cycle low, November of 2022. And since that point, the dominance has been up and up and up. So where is this thing going to end? Well, we had the breakout here. The 50% level is at around 56% if we're taking the dominance including stablecoins. So keep that number in mind, 56% on the dominance. The 50% levels are going to be very, very important here. You can see previously it broke through, tested the upper side of the 50%, lower high formed, and then a breakdown. Retest underneath the 50%, failed, only marginally got above, failed again, one last attempt, and failed from that point. So that 67% was pretty important in the last cycle, all the way up to about 73, but it was only marginally at 73. So I'd be looking somewhere around that 70, 71 from the previous cycle. Going forward to this cycle, well, we've got 56% at the 50% level with a couple of other areas to the upside, being the previous support levels of 60 and 58. So we have three numbers there, 56, 58, and 60. Once we start to hit that, then maybe we'll start to see a new narrative for the altcoins that will give us that altcoin pump. There is your second big hammer home point for the video. They're the levels we're looking for. When those levels are hit for the dominance, keep an ear out and an eye out for the narrative that is going. That is going to give you the best altcoins to be trading at that time. Look what happened last time. You can see a drop off on the dominance, drop off of the dominance. DeFi was a big narrative. Go for gold. You're going to be making some sweet ass gains like our members have, because they've been learning how to trade during the bear market, during the most difficult times. So if you want to learn how to trade and invest full time, check the link in the top of the video description. This is TIA Premium. That's our premium membership. So that's where we're at. That's the dominance there. And if we want to have a look at the dominance without stablecoins, so removing the stablecoins, we're currently at about 58%. The levels above are around about there. That is 63 or 64% down to about 61%. So it's still a few percent to go to the upside without stablecoins. That's an exclusive TIA indicator. You guys can find links to that in the video description as well. Over to altcoins. Now, we've got the Wyckoff schematic here, just looking at where altcoins could be, because again, we've got the altcoin chart here, the total cryptocurrency market cap. How much longer do we have here as well? Potentially we're in this stage or this phase C. Could be on the schematic 2, could be on schematic 1. You just want to have a look at a rough guide to the schematic itself. It doesn't have to be exact like this. I see a lot of people talking about how exact this has to be. It's not the case at all. It's just showing you here is the low. In phase B, the low goes lower. In phase C, the low goes lower than that again, and then you have the test and higher lows form. Or you can have a different schematic, where in phase C, the low is actually higher than in phase B. That's all this schematic is about. The main points to understand are these sections here. The last points of supply, the sign of strength, and really understanding how to read each of those phases that come up in the market. And that's how we've been able to successfully understand the accumulation schematic for Bitcoin, because we've been following each of these phases to a T. So where do we currently sit here? This is for cryptos, remember, these are different. These are different at different stages. Bitcoin, different schematic to total 3. Please remember that. So right now, we're potentially in a phase C. We've potentially seen a spring test here. We'll get into that more in future videos because I think this one is going to go long enough. But just so you get an idea and an understanding and an update, it's possible that we've seen this phase C. We've got the secondary test here, another secondary test, and a selling climax right there. So we have the selling climax, secondary test. Maybe this is the last point of supply, phase C. And I say maybe because we don't have any confirmation yet. That's the trouble with using the Wyckoff schematic. You need to wait for confirmation. So you're not trying to buy the exact low. You want confirmation that this is going to be an uptrend so that you can buy in and make the fastest gains. It may not be the biggest gains because of course the multiples are going to be bigger if you buy at the low, but maybe some people were buying at the lows here. Maybe they thought this was the low back here for altcoins because a lot of people have been buying each of these dips, and a dip to them might be somewhere way up here, and then again here, and then again here, and here, and here. So the majority of people, again, are wasting their money. And this is exactly what happened in the last cycle, and the same thing that happened in 2017, and the same thing that happened in the cycle before that, and it happens across all markets. So pay particular attention to where we're at here, and at least in my style of trading and investing, I like to wait for some sort of confirmation for the majority of these altcoins. There are going to be some that might fit the bill a little earlier on, but for the majority, we're going to have to wait for some sort of confirmation. So back to total 3 here, potential spring test, which would lead us into phase C. So we have to wait this out and see whether we get into a phase D. Let's take a look at the timing of how long this might take. And I'm just going to look back to the previous cycle. We've got the low for the altcoins. Remember, this is excluding Bitcoin and ETH. Low to a significant low here, which happened in the 4th quarter of 2019, and we're almost 4 years to that point now. We've got another quarter and a half to go to get into the 4th quarter, and that's where we saw that first low and then the run up. So this was a bit of an altcoin season there, going from 40 billion all the way up to 80 billion. So 100% gain there, not too bad overall. And that took about 53 weeks from the low. So essentially 1 year from the low. That's one number we want to have an ear on. Now, from the top, the all-time high, to that bottom point, that second low or that higher low, it was 102 weeks. So basically 2 years. So measuring that for the bottom, there's your 1 year, there's your 2 years. Let's have a look at where we currently sit right now. Now, from the all-time high to 102 weeks later, brings us out to the end of October of 2023, right in that quarter 4 of 2023. So this is lining up to be potentially the Wyckoff schematic 2, if this is going to be a higher low. Remember all the ifs here, because we don't have anything confirmed. We got to wait for the confirmation. And I know some people say, well, it's if, thens, and buts, but that's what the market is. We have to know how to respond to it. So 2 years from the all-time high takes us out into that October-November period, because that's where the all-time high was in 2021, which might give us, remember might, give us this nice little bottoming area here before we get a run. That might be the low. Maybe we get a lower low like we had with the pandemic, which was then quickly reversed. But overall, I'm just going to keep these numbers in mind. Things are seeming to line up so far with the 4th quarter of, you guessed it, 2023. So maybe we still have some time left in summer for this to accumulate. But remember, if that is the case, if it is quarter 4 of 2023, that we might see a first move, I'm not talking about this massive bull market here, or even the bull market out of the low there. If that is the case, then it means we won't be buying the exact low of the altcoins. That's never been the game here. The game has been to make a chunk of profits out of the middle of the market rather than trying to buy the exact low and sell the exact top. If you make a chunk of profits out of the middle, you're going to do very, very well in the long term. That's what we're looking at here. So far things are pointing towards the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, does this statement stand true for the major altcoins, the stuff in the top 20? So far, it does. It looks like a lot of these are going to continue to bleed out for some time. Now, I've just got a couple to look at here because we've been covering these for the last several months. This is a series on the channel, so make sure you have subscribed, like the content, share it with a friend. If you still find them buying the dip, let me know in the comment section if you think there is one of those altcoins out there which doesn't look like this, which is showing higher lows against its Bitcoin value. And I want to show you one of those at the end of the video as well, what that looks like on the chart. But for now, poor old Solana against Bitcoin, it continues down. We've covered this against the Wall Street cheat sheet, looking at the market sentiment, psychology around each of these peaks, the complacency, the denial, the anxiety, and the market continues down. And we're just on the edge of putting in a new low of Solana against Bitcoin. This is why I don't like to buy cryptocurrencies or altcoins before they have confirmed an uptrend against their Bitcoin value. Once they've been through a cycle like this and had a huge blow off top, it's very unlikely that they're going to perform like that again in the next cycle and get those massive gains like they had in the previous cycle. It might take 1 or 2 more cycles if they ever make it back. The new stuff, the easier stuff to trade is going to be those new cryptos and narratives that we haven't seen yet, narratives that haven't been brought out. We have an inkling of some of those. We know we've seen recently the Bitcoin ordinal narratives. Maybe layer 2s are going to be back, maybe some sorts of layer 1s, maybe it's going to be NFTs and metaverse again. We just don't have any other confirmation just yet. But we'll be able to see what happens on the charts, what's going to be stronger from that point. At the moment, Solana, that trend is still down. That's not my opinion. Maybe they're doing good things in the background, but the trend is down. Lower highs, lower lows, about to break to new lows and come back and test the region that it was in prior to the altcoin bull market of 2021. That's not a good sign for anything. Doge, the same. Dogecoin, it has been bleeding out since Elon Musk got on Saturday Night Live, which was the absolute top of the market, and it's been bleeding out. Now, this is a 2-year-old tweet that I did in July of 2021, looking at the bleed out here. And I wasn't going to buy it until it reached somewhere in this sort of 80-ish sats. It takes a lot of patience. That was 2 years ago. Think about that. Well, 2 weeks off 2 years. It's now down at 200 Satoshis. And at the time I did the post, it was sitting at 600 Satoshis. So there does need to be a lot of patience with these altcoins because they only pump for a very short period of time. And like you can see from history, they spend the majority of the time going down with the odd pump here and there. So if you take that as a learning, it's going to be much, much easier to trade altcoins. They only pump for a short period of time and then they bleed out for the rest of the time. There's my target zone that I put up 2 years ago. Maybe I'll have to readjust it because it comes back into this zone underneath 90 Satoshis. Let's just wait and see. Now, I've still got one good one to get through, but the warnings are here. All of these have continued to break down. ADA BTC continued to break down. Lower highs, lower lows, fresh new lows recently, and probably going to hit fresh new lows again. It's back into the zone that it was in the previous accumulation area, and doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. Hopefully it can and start to form some sort of base like it did previously. That's going to be one of the first signs. So there's your third thing from the video. Make sure you've got some sort of accumulation area forming with higher highs and higher lows before entering into these cryptocurrencies. And even on the first pump, you don't need to worry. It's probably going to have a pullback, maybe not to the same lows. You probably don't want it to go to the same lows. You want a higher low. Big pump, came back and tested the tops. There's your fourth thing again. Don't buy on the first pumps if you want to be conservative. If you don't want to be conservative, obviously you just keep buying on each of these dips. All right, Matic breakdown. That thing has been absolutely crushed and it's probably going to come back to this level here. Probably going to come back under 600 to 800 Satoshis. So it's still got a fair bit of downside room. Now, I know you've been hanging on waiting for this last one. Thanks very much. Hit the like and subscribe link in the top of the video description to join us on our journey to study the past, to forecast the future across all of the markets, because the cycles continue to remain there. Link is right there, TIA Crypto.com, which is TIA Premium, our premium membership. This is starting to look like a chart that we want to see. You got higher lows forming, and it's still holding up even though Bitcoin is relatively stable right now. I'm not saying this is going to be the one, but it has a reasonable narrative. Your stacks on Bitcoin, sort of like a layer 2 for BTC. Maybe this is one of those ones that's able to make it through to the next cycle. A rejection at 50% isn't the nicest thing, but as long as we're putting in higher lows above previous resistance levels, that is the sort of information that you want to see from a chart. There is support at higher and higher prices. Stacks looking good at this stage. I want to hear from you guys. Do you have anything else that looks similar to this in the comment section down below? Higher lows forming, especially after certain pumps and dumps that have been happening in the market. I'm going to keep tracking this as well. If it starts to break down, that of course puts it back into the weak section of the market. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys at the next video. I hope you enjoyed that update of the cryptocurrency market, looking at the Wyckoff schematic for the altcoins, and of course Bitcoin dominance, which continues to reign supreme for this stage in the market. And we've also given time targets with how far out we might have to wait until we see some sort of mini altcoin season. Thanks again. I'll see you guys at the next video. Till then, peace out.